Coming up tonight on the Cruise View, things start to get a little bit wet. We up the ante of dining on a grand scale, and we take to the skies. So, let's set sail. Welcome to day 3 of the CruiseView's inaugural sailing on board the Quantum of the Seas. Once again, I am Picone, and today was another sea day. So before we get into everything that occurred, we're going to look at some of those major topics we've been discussing the past few days, starting with the technology. So, as I said yesterday, things were improving. They've been working on things every night, and today they seem to have stepped backwards with it all. They had issues with the internet service provider, O3B, and you could see the O3B workers all over the ship trying to figure it out, but it ultimately resulted in no internet connectivity for the majority of the ship, and that killed services such as the messenger on the Royal IQ app, as well as a lot of the basic functionalities of the Royal IQ app. But beyond that, things have been roughly the same as they were the past few days. They did blame those internet issues on the storms that we had today. Whether I believe that or not, don't really think so, but who knows. Of course, they got to try and find some way to cover up whatever the issue is, because it certainly doesn't seem like the O3B satellites are functioning in the way they expected them, and I'm sure a lot of people are not very happy about that. And of course, the second major topic that we've been following throughout the sailing is the use of the term inaugural. And thankfully, it was finally used twice in one day. First by the cruise director during the Crown and Anchor welcome reception, and the second time by the captain during his daily noon announcements.
On this inaugural voyage.
But that's still the extent of it, and not quite as much of the hype that you would expect on an inaugural sailing. We received a gift once again in the cabin tonight. This time it was a generic Royal Caribbean aluminum water bottle, the same kind that you've probably seen given away as prizes on other ships. Nothing that actually said the words Quantum of the Seas or Inaugural Season, so it was a pretty basic giveaway there. But overall, things on board have been steadily improving with each day, as I'll touch on throughout the rest of this episode. But first, of course, we gotta look at where we currently are. Once again, this was the second day at sea, and our noontime location was 30 degrees and 54 minutes north by 78 degrees and 6 minutes west. And at this point, we are headed towards Florida, back in a westerly direction as we make our way south. And of course, as we get farther south, the weather continues to be warmer. So we had highs around 75 degrees. But unfortunately, after a cloudy but nice morning at around 10 a.m., heavy rains and winds kicked in and pretty much had a complete washout day once again, with the North Star only getting in about 2 rides before having to shut down due to lightning. And many of the other outdoor amenities such as the RipCord and FlowRide are also having to cut their days very short as well. But even with that poor weather, the ship handled it fairly well. There were no crowds anywhere, and even on the indoor pools, it was never crowded. There were plenty of chairs around, so the ship can certainly handle the crowds when it needs to. And in terms of its ability to handle all that rain, the forward sections of the ship seemed to handle it with no problems. There was no leaking that I could spot within the retractable ceilings of that indoor pool, as well as with the solarium. There was some water coming in on decks 15 where it connects to the indoor pool from the jogging track, but a lot of that seemed to be more from people opening the door than actual leakage. At the aft end, however, there were many flooding issues. The biggest one seemed to be at the C-plex, where the suite deck area enters into deck number 16. For some reason, there seemed to be a lot of water flowing in there, and it was actually flowing all the way down onto the primary C-plex floor, and it was pretty much one large waterfall at some points of the flooding period. So that's clearly one of the major issues that they have to look at. The other area has to do with when you're entering into the windjammer area, that aft elevator lobby from the pool deck, you have to pass an uncovered area. So if you needed to get from the front of the ship to the back or vice versa, you would need to go all the way down to decks 4 or 5 if you didn't want to get wet, or you'd have to walk through a passenger corridor. So that's something they could easily fix in a dry dock, but for now, it makes it impossible to walk from one end to the other without getting wet, and it also seemed to result in them having to always keep those doors sealed when it does rain, as the rain does come in the ship through those doors as well. Luckily, even with all that rain, the seas were calm. It was a very smooth day at some periods. Other times there's a little bit of chop and a little bit of waves out there, but nothing that really threw the ship about, certainly nothing like we saw yesterday. So it was an overall very enjoyable day, even if it wasn't as sunny as we would hope. But we did have a sunrise at 6:45 a.m. and a sunset at 5:14 p.m. Now with all that weather, let's take a look at the compass to see just what was actually going on all day. And unfortunately, it was once again empty. It's been a very lackluster compass, to say the least, so far, and today lived up to that same standard. There were pretty much no real major events throughout the entire day. The first true event seemed to come at about 3:30 p.m. with the Crown and Anchor welcome reception for the Gold, Platinum, and Emerald members, and that was located in the Royal Theater with visits by the captain, the hotel manager, as well as the loyalty ambassador. And you can check out the entire video to see just what they all had to say to their loyal royals in the theater today. And at 5:15, the same event occurred a second time for the Diamond, Diamond Plus, and Pinnacle members. And then, since it was such a truly empty day, the next thing that I want to touch on was the Shrek and Princess Fiona in their formal attire photo op in the Via this evening at 7:45 p.m. And I know a lot of people have been sort of cold to the whole DreamWorks character experience on board the Royal Caribbean ships, but I have to say, with this being our first sailing with that experience on board, it really has not affected in any way. This morning I did the character breakfast which is located in Silk, and that was basically a standard breakfast, except you also got to have the fun of meeting all the characters. So it was certainly nothing that took away from the overall cruise experience. And with these photo ops throughout the day, you'll be walking around the ship and just pass by a random character or see a character come over and stop to do a little dance, as occurred this evening when this formal attire photo op happened and Shrek and Princess Fiona came out to do a royal dance before posing for pictures, which is certainly a unique photo op and one that you wouldn't have gotten on other ships on a formal night. So it certainly fit in with the overall evening that we had planned, and it made for some great memories that I'm sure we couldn't have gotten on many of the other ships that are in the fleet, and we definitely wouldn't have gotten if they had not had that DreamWorks experience. So I personally am enjoying those and hope they continue to do them. So they really don't take away, they just add a little something extra to the experience. But then at 9 p.m. we moved back into the official formal events of the day with the Guest Entertainer 1 show in the Royal Theater, and that was Ron Lucas, a ventriloquist. I once again had not seen him before. So far, I think I haven't repeated any of the guest entertainers that I've done during the CruiseView, but he was a new one for me, and he was certainly enjoyable. I think we had one other ventriloquist several years ago on a cruise, and he definitely outshined him. It was a top quality. You could really tell that they, at least in this case, seemed to have gone out a little farther. The way that he talked about Vegas and stuff, it didn't sound like cruising was his main business. It sounded more like this was a one-off gig. So hopefully we continue to have some of that high quality entertainment. And of course, there's a clip for you to see just what he's like.
You can dish it out, but you can't take it. That was the mic. You talk to the mic. Say hi to the mic. He won't talk to me. Hello. Hello. Huh? Do it again. Hello. 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 It's an echo. You want an echo? No, no echoes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hey, 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 name, dilly, woo, woo.
And then following that, while walking around the ship looking for something to check out, I stopped by 270 just to see what was going on and happened upon a showing of Star Water at 10:30 p.m. that was not listed in the compass. From what I could tell, it seemed like it was a makeup of a show that may have been scheduled yesterday and was canceled. I'm not quite certain, but I do know last night there were a lot of crews working all night long in 270 to try to get it fully functional. But I'm not going to go into Star Water too much tonight, as it was not the official night that I watched it. Instead, I'm going to go into what followed it, which was Celebrity DJ in 270, an event they've been using to close out the night in 270 every night of this cruise. And it's mainly a young woman at her DJ station playing electro-pop all night long with flashing lights. But tonight, because 270 is finally functional for the first time this sailing, it was accompanied by the Vista views. So you had the beautiful views out the back of the ship through a virtual window with fireworks and all sorts of festivities. And I gotta say, after seeing it the past couple nights without it, it truly changes the entire experience and ambience of that venue. It really adds a whole extra life. And hopefully seeing that come alive, we'll see some more parts of the ship get completed, because every night I do walk around and see a lot of work still continuing. There are a lot of contractors fixing stuff, a lot of different issues that they're running into that they're trying to correct right away. So that completely changed 270. I think we're going to see that more throughout the sailing. We'll see venues that weren't used much suddenly come alive as new technologies and new functionalities come on board that were supposed to be there but just weren't ready. And overall, I think it's really going to impact the entire ambience and atmosphere of the ship as a whole, as more people now gravitate to 270, whereas up to this point we've kind of seen the music hall act as the nightclub, even though they also had the one in 270 happening. But that basically ends the night out. Throughout the ship at the moment, there's about 4 or 5 places you can go for club music, but I think most are at 270. But going along that same line of Royal Caribbean upping the ante, taking things to the next level, we're going to look at our daily dine with the Grande, the official formal dining venue on board the Quantum of the Seas.
Hello everyone, my name is Dan. I'm one of the hosts in the Grand Dining Room. Grand Dining Room is part of our dynamic dining. It's a little bit more formal. It's European classic dining room. As you enter, you're gonna come into a new atmosphere where a waiter welcomes you in a very nice tuxedo. I might say the glass of champagne complimentary, just to make a toast and make sure that you're gonna enjoy the rest of the evening. It's not just a regular dining room, the first or second sitting. It's a place where you can enjoy your meal at any time as soon as you have a reservation. We do take as well walk-ins. The tables of size goes from tables of 2, 4, 6, 8 or even 12, so we can accommodate as well big parties as well as small parties. It is a place where you can enjoy it even if you don't have any special events, but most likely it's a place where you're gonna come dress up formal and you can enjoy it for any special events that you might have throughout the cruise. Our menu includes famous dishes from around the world, classical dishes served on Royal Caribbean. Starting with the appetizer, we can say that we're proud to have the escargot as a starter. We do have our prawn cocktail. For the main course, not just the lobster tail, but of course the filet of beef as well. So we do offer a large variety of food items, not just meat, red meat or fish. We do have shellfish as well. We do have salads that you might indulge yourself throughout the whole meal.
So the Grande was my dining venue for tonight, and I gotta say, while I didn't care for the menu too much, there wasn't a whole lot that I liked since I'm not a seafood person, and it was very heavy on the seafood. The overall ambience and experience was one that felt of an upper level. It was certainly a step above even the formal nights in the main dining room. So I think Royal Caribbean's really achieved what they set out for there. Some people might have expected even farther, but it's still complimentary dining venue, so you can't expect the top of the line, but it was definitely a step up from what we've had in the past in the main dining room. And now we'll take a look at our next venue. Continuing on that active theme, we're going to look at RipCord. The Quantum class has a new star in the sports deck, RipCord by iFly. 25-foot tall by 10-foot wide glass wind tunnel that creates the first ever skydiving simulator at sea. Its location overlooking the flowrider and off the back of the ship allows it to dominate the stern of the ship. While its appearance may look dominating though, its requirements are far from it. With a minimum age of just 3 years old and a maximum weight of 250 pounds, nearly anyone can participate. Reservations are required, but any open slots are given away to those nearby at the time. At your time, you visit the sports desk at the aft of Deck 15 and check in. You'll then watch a short instructional video in the classroom before going to get dressed. You must remove any loose items such as jewelry and wow bands, put on a jumpsuit, earplugs, goggles, and a helmet. And then, once everyone is ready, your group will head upstairs to the RipCord and enter the chamber. When you're ready to enter the wind tunnel, you step up to the door with your arms at your chest, and then fall forward into the tunnel as your instructor grabs you and positions you level within the air. From there, your instructor will grab and hold on to you to keep you under control as needed, and release you whenever able to. They'll also show you a series of hand signals to either straighten or bend your legs, as well as, more importantly, to relax. The key to success is to relax your body and make subtle movements within the air. If needed, a second member of the sports staff is at the controls of the wind tunnel at all times and ready to adjust the speed of the wind to help regulate your height within the tunnel. Once your minute is up, the instructor will position you towards the door once again, and you will swing right out onto the ground. After each group has finished their rotation through the tunnel, the instructor will then put on a demonstration of their own. And as I mentioned before, a lot of things got canceled today due to the weather, and unfortunately one of those things was my reservation for RipCord, so I cannot personally comment on what the experience is like, although I did get to see it in person for the first time, and it looks like a blast, though a lot of people seem to be getting ragdolled in there worse than I had expected. So I do think you have to take a lot more caution than many people seem to believe with it. Definitely looks like it's a lot easier to get hurt, and it makes sense that so many people are complaining they're sore afterwards. But in a couple days, I'll find out for sure, as I will be trying it now on day number 7 when we are once again back at sea. But that about wraps it up for today, so we're going to take a look at tomorrow. Our first port of call as we arrive in Port Canaveral at 6:30 a.m., a very early arrival for the Quantum of the Seas on her first ever port of call, and it's an extra special one as it is not only the Quantum of the Seas' first port of call, it is the first arrival at the brand new terminal in Port Canaveral, so we'll be able to walk straight off on Deck 5 just like we boarded in Cape Liberty, New Jersey. So it should be extra exciting for everybody on board, and we'll see just what that new terminal's like. Hopefully there's no last minute changes and we do get to experience it, but be sure to tune in tomorrow to find out all about it. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for the links.